Hello, hello, hello. This is Gresh from the I Am CEO podcast, and I have a very, very special guest on the show today. I have Morgan Hurley of Mex One Coastal Cantina. Morgan, it's awesome to have you on the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
No problem. Super excited to have you on as well, too. And before we jumped in, I want to read a little bit more about Morgan so you can hear about all the awesome things that he's doing. And Morgan is the Marketing and Beverage Director for local restaurant group Mex One Coastal Cantina in Charleston, South Carolina, a local favorite serving craveable tacos and killer margaritas in a relaxed SoCal vibe surf bar. Morgan grew up in the food and beverage trade, eventually getting a job at a high volume beachfront on Folly Beach, where he honed his mixology skills, winning him a few awards. His love for craft cocktails and tequila led him to helping open Mex One Coastal Cantina and developing the cocktail program, the brand, and also becoming a tequila expert along the way, hosting seminars about everything tequila. As the company grew, so did Morgan's knowledge base, eventually working his way to Marketing and Beverage Director, where they have won countless awards from the Best Margarita and Best Mexican to Throw Show, stopping events like their annual Snowboard, Rail Jam, and Cinco de Mayo Bash. Morgan, are you ready to speak to the IMCO community?
I am, yeah.
Awesome. Let's do it then. So to kick everything off, I wanted to hear a little bit more on how you got started. Could you take us through your story and we'll let you do all the awesome things you're working through now?
Yeah, for sure. So I grew up here in Charleston, South Carolina. Grew up on Isle of Palms and really was born and bred into the food and bev industry. My dad was a restaurateur here in Charleston. Two great parents who always supported me, and also grew up surfing. So the food and bev world and surfing have a huge tie because I can make some money, make some quick money, and then go travel for a little bit and surf, and then come back and make a little bit more money. So along that path, I eventually got into bartending and just really loved that, which led me to Folly Beach, the tiki bar out there that I worked at called Blue. And it was a very high volume, super fun bar right on the beach. I mean, I could throw ice cubes at the sand if I wanted to. And from there, it led me into the mixology side. So I really got into the mixology side of things. And this was 15 years ago. So this is really before mixology was kind of a thing, where it was just really starting to come about. And it was fun because I got to, this really kind of got the itch for marketing because you have to make a great product, you have to make a great cocktail. But then if you have a great name and a great story behind it, then that just takes it that much further. So when I got into the contest, I think that's really what separated me. Was I spent a lot of time in the preparation thinking about what's the purpose of this cocktail, why is the name this way, and really selling that aspect of it. So that was a really fun part about the mixology side.
Yeah, absolutely love that. And definitely I love kind of like that synergies that you kind of touched on as well too, as far as like, in the business world and in the marketing world that you mentioned as well, and being able to kind of create a really phenomenal drink. But it's not just the beverage, it's so much more to that. So I love how that kind of has evolved and led you to what you're doing now. So I guess could you tell me a little bit more on what you end up doing after that?
Yeah, so from there, like I said, my dad's a restaurateur, and he got involved with his partner Dave Lorenz to open a concept called Mex One Coastal Cantina. And their take was it was a Southern California sort of take on fish tacos and fresh margaritas and surf videos playing on all the TVs. And I was like, this is a dream come true. I get to sell tequila and have surfing on all the time. So got involved with them. Came up with the beverage program, all the cocktails, helped with the brand in general, and really got to grow with the company. So I went from bar manager to general manager, and then we opened a second location and then a third location. All along that way, I've always looked to grow. So I'm always looking to look at that next step. And I'm an ever learner. I just love learning, and marketing was kind of the one that I always gravitated towards because it's always ever changing.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that I was really good at in the beginning was promoting events. So I wanted to have the biggest Cinco de Mayo party in Charleston, or our snowboard rail jam that we do. So we're in Charleston, we're down here in the South, and in the wintertime for our anniversary, bring in 20,000 pounds of snow, a big ramp, and bring in snowboarders and have them hit the ramps and all that sort of stuff. And it's super cool. And it was a lot of fun. And, I really got into the marketing side because you want people to show up. So you got to get, the right graphics, and you've got to get the right marketing behind it and all that sort of stuff. So it was really a fun progress. Fast forward to COVID, which we're in right now, and a lot of those events, obviously we can't do those right now. So it's really focused or forced me into, doing more evergreen content, doing more conversational marketing, outside of the event marketing that we were doing beforehand. So it's been a fun learning experience since, through all of COVID and everything like that.
Yeah, I can definitely imagine that, and I'm sure that a lot of people that are listening to this as well too, and all the pivots and changes that you have to make. And it's great to hear that it sounds like you've been able to maybe change the method and the way by which you've done things, but not change kind of like the core of the quality service and the experience that it sounds like you provide to people, whether it be a conversation or obviously as you were doing before an event.
Yeah. I mean, best operations through and through is, or best marketing through and through is just really good, solid operation. So it starts with that. But then from there, it's, once COVID hit, the very first thing we did was we went really heavy on social media just to
Mhm.
show people like, hey, we're here. We never closed. We did to go. And, we really embraced the community. We gave back to a lot of the nurses and the doctors by providing meals for them and those sort of things. So we really just tried to dive into the community and dive into social media because we knew a lot of people were home and on social. So it was a fun time to experiment with new things. We did more live videos and making cocktails live for people. Just, hey, if you're home, here's how you make a excellent margarita. So kind of got to have fun with it.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. And I think that again, it kind of sounds like, definitely correct me if I'm wrong. Obviously, the business that you have, you've been able to kind of communicate and have that conversational marketing that you referenced earlier, and being able to show like if you want to and are sitting at home, this is how you make a margarita, and have that kind of back and forth to continue to create that engaging opportunity.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So I know you touched on a little bit of it as well too when I read your bio. Could you take us through a little bit more about Mex One Coastal Cantina and what exactly you guys do to serve your clients?
Sure. So, like I said, we're Southern California take on fish tacos, quesadillas, rice bowls, premium tequilas. We've got a lot of infused tequilas as well. Um, and we really shoot for that, come as you are kind of laid back environment. We want you, we don't necessarily want you on your birthday and your anniversary. We want you once or twice a week. That's our kind of our game. So it's really, craveable food. And it's a truly a Baja take. So our vision is, when I used to go on surf trips and you surf all day long and you come back and there's nothing better than sitting down at the bar, having a couple cold beers, eating some tacos with your buddies, and just reminiscing on how that day went. And
Mhm.
it's really important for us is that the vibe. So when you walk into the restaurant, we have surf videos playing. We don't have the news or sports or anything, or regular ESPN or anything like that on. We want you to kind of forget about the day to day grind that we all go through. So it's important that that vibe be set right when you walk in the door, to where you kind of feel like you're on vacation when you step into the restaurant. I think we've achieved that. I think that's why we've had the following that we've had, is because of that.
Yeah, I think that a lot of times when we, get into marketing or as you mentioned, the operations and it being so important, it's being able to kind of serve the ideal client, the target client that you're trying to do, and to be able to really tap into that experience that you talk to, being out and going surfing, be able to just sit down and enjoy some really great food with some really great brews. That gives you that opportunity to have that experience, and you all have been able to kind of replicate that on a regular basis.
Yep. And I mean, everybody loves queso. Let's be honest. I
Yeah,
don't know anybody who
absolutely.
doesn't like queso. And then, margarita is the number one selling cocktail in the country right now. So, we
Mhm.
got a couple good things going for us there. So,
Yeah, absolutely. You got the deck stacked against you, so to speak, and that
yeah,
always helps
for
out.
sure.
And so, I wanted to ask you now for what I call your secret sauce, and this could be for you personally or your business, not what's in the queso, but what do you feel kind of sets you apart and makes you unique?
So for me personally, I would say it's my routine. I think that's huge for me. I have a really pretty strict morning routine on the weekdays. I like to tell people, if they're starting out, looking at how they set the routine, is first, are you a morning person or an evening person? Because if you're an evening person, then this doesn't pertain. But for me, I'm a morning person. I'm usually up at 5 a.m. From 5 to 6:30 is where I really get deep work done. So no one's emailing me, no one's calling me, no text messages, kids are still asleep. I can really get some deep work done. That, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? Well, that's where you
Mhm.
do it. It's right then and there. So that's important for me. And then 6:30 kids are awake, and help them get their breakfast and get them out the door. And then usually around 8:15 or so, I'll hit the home gym and get a really good workout in. And that two fronts: one, it gets the blood flowing, it gets me going and all that sort of stuff, but it also allows my subconscious mind to kind of unwind in the background. And if there's something that I have a problem I'm working through or anything like that, that's typically where I get those um, you know aha moments type of
Yeah.
things. um, and then the day starts. And then from there, it's, I'm not there with my weekly routine yet, but I've got a pretty good start to my mornings. That kind of really sets my day off on the right foot.
Yeah, I feel like there's a saying, and it might have been Tony Robbins that said it, in order to win the day, you have to win the morning. And I think that even if, like you said, you're a more of a evening owl person, like I can be, I think there's certain principles and things that you just mentioned that you can add into your routine. It doesn't necessarily have to be the exact same thing. I think that's the beauty of it. But you talking about why exactly you do what you do and when you do it, I think gives us kind of those seeds that we can kind of plant so that we can have that strong day, to have a strong day, to have a strong morning, have a strong day, to have a strong week, and so on and so forth.
Exactly. You're creating those little habits that just get you into the moment of, especially just getting into a flow. Like if you can get into flow, that's when all the breakthroughs happen.
Yeah, absolutely. When you stop, having to worry about all other things, because you're able to know how you're going to start each and every aspect of your day. So absolutely appreciate that. And I wanted to switch gears a little bit. And I wanted to ask you for what I call a CEO hack. So this could be like an app, a book, or a habit that you have, but what's something that makes you more effective and efficient?
And I got a few, but I would say my top one right now is Feedly. It is an app. It's Feedly. It's an RSS feed. So for your listeners that may not know, I didn't know what that was until a few years ago. But essentially, what it is that I follow a lot of marketing websites, blogs. Neil Patel, digital marketer. SEO, SEM, all those sort of things. And whenever they post a new blog or a new article, Feedly will gather all of that and put it into a quote unquote news feed for you. It's incredibly important for marketing because the digital landscape is constantly changing. So if you are heavily invested in social and Facebook changes their algorithm, well, then a huge chunk of your content plan could be completely changed. So it's great because you not only get to see when a new change happens, but you then get to hear from the experts who say, this is how you pivot to make it work for you. So it's just a great place to get ideas, all of that sort of stuff. So I'm constantly referring to it and reading it as often as I can.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. And every blog has its own RSS feed. So the idea is that, correct me if I'm wrong, Feedly allows you that opportunity to add each of those RSS feeds to one place. So you don't have to go type in, okay, I got to go to this blog or that podcast and so on and so forth. It has it all in one place that makes it easy for you to
Exactly.
learn.
As soon as they update it, it automatically hits your feed. So you're seeing the top of the line stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you mentioned, and we touched on as well too, being able to sharpen the saw and learn more and more is so important. And having that easy access to that content and information definitely helps out a lot.
Exactly.
Awesome. So I want to ask you now for what I call a CEO nugget. So this could be a word of wisdom or a piece of advice. It might be something you would tell a client, or if you hopped into a time machine, you might tell your younger business self.
So mine is, rigorous preparation and reflecting on your experience. So going back to what you just mentioned, I love the quote by Abraham Lincoln. That's, if I had 6 hours to cut down a tree, I would spend 4 hours sharpening the axe. And preparation is everything before an event or a campaign. Prepare, exhaust every single aspect that you can. And as soon as you think you're fully prepared, you've taken all the notes, you're ready to go, hand it to a colleague and have them look through it and shoot holes in it, because you probably missed something. So I think that's incredibly important. And then once the event, the campaign, all that is over, it's extremely important to reflect on the experience. So everybody says experience is everything. No, it's reflecting on experience. So what were the pros? What worked? What didn't work? What could you have done better? Taking those notes, especially for me for events, like when we do Cinco, our big Cinco de Mayo event, there's liable to be a ton of stuff that happens that are good and bad. So I'll grab the team, we go, we take a ton of notes. And then what I'll do is I'll write down those notes and go to Google, schedule, send an email to myself pretty much, 11 months later, to where before the event comes up, I see all those notes that I have. So that would be my two right there, would be intense preparation and then reflecting on your experience on the back end.
I absolutely love that. Those two nuggets. And I love that little hack even within it, being able to kind of send yourself that information in the future, because you know that you're going to be looking for that. And I think it's so huge. And I'm glad you mentioned, of course, if things go good, to be able to kind of look and reflect and see what happened as a result of that. But also when things go not as good, or not as good as we would have hoped, it's important to really look at those things so that you can know how to increase the likelihood of that being better in the future. And I think that when we don't actually do do that, have that experience, but actually reflect on that experience, that's when we're doing ourselves a detriment, because we've already done the work. We just have to kind of distill and get all that information from that.
Exactly.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So now I want to ask you my absolute favorite question, which is the definition of what it means to be a CEO. And we're hoping to have different quote unquote CEOs on the show. And I know you started phenomenal things and phenomenal, obviously, marketing and aspects of the business. So what does being a quote unquote CEO mean to you?
So, the obvious one is leadership. I know a lot of your guests have said that. I'm a huge proponent of that. So constantly learning about 21 laws of leadership from John Maxwell, that sort of stuff. But I would say for me, the most important role of a CEO, or what it means to be a CEO, is to be decisive and action oriented. So the buck always stops with you, technically. You can have your counterparts with you, all that sort of stuff. But the buck stops with you. So you have to make the decision. You've got to be decisive in your decision and make it. And you're going to get feedback from different parties. Some people are not going to be happy with it, but you've got to be able to make the decision, have them understand the why, and then move forward with it. If it comes down to it and it's not working, then be humble and pivot. But ultimately, I think that's the biggest thing, is that you've got to be decisive and you got to be action oriented.
Yeah, absolutely love that. And so many times, people get in the realm of, ready, aim, 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 and they never ever take action. And as we kind of talked about, in the nugget, it's so important to pay attention and be prepared and to learn as much as possible. Have, a colleague or a person be able to look at those things as well too. But you have to take that action, because that's the only way you can reflect and get that, that feedback, is by taking that action and seeing what has happened and go from there. But I think so many times we can get caught in the preparation and never actually, going forward from there.
Progress over perfection. That was the biggest thing I've always heard, is that there's a lot of people that get hung up on it has to be perfect before I roll it out. And that's always going to be a fail. It's like, sometimes it's just progress. Sometimes it's, hey, I'm just going to roll this out just a little bit and roll it into perfection. But you just got to be action oriented. That's such an important part.
Yeah, we forget about the progression of, from step to step to step. And when you kind of set that bar that it has to be perfect, you never ever reach there, because it doesn't really, start from perfect, especially from day one. So if you understand that it's going to evolve, we're going to continue to improve and to get better, then that creates that action, that forward momentum towards getting you to where we want to be.
Exactly.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, Morgan, truly appreciate that definition, and I appreciate your time even more. So what I wanted to do is pass you the mic, so to speak, just to see if there's anything additional you can let our readers and listeners know, and of course, how best they can get a hold of you and find out about all the awesome things you and the team are working on.
Yeah, cool. Thank you so much. If you ever make it down to Charleston, look me up, and happy to pour some tequila for you and chat about all the knowledge that I have behind that. No, but it was fun being on the podcast today. If people want to reach out to me, they can reach out to Mex1 Coastal Cantina on Instagram, or from our website, or my personal Instagram is Mix Pour Surf. So MIXPOUR, like you're pouring and then surfing at the end, or LinkedIn, Morgan Hurley on LinkedIn. So happy to connect with anybody.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you so much again, Morgan. We will have the links and information in the show notes as well too, so that everybody can follow up with you and find out about all the awesome things and get a little bit of that tequila as well too. So I appreciate you, my friend, and I hope you have a phenomenal rest of the day.
Cheers. Thanks, man. You too.
All right, and I'll cut it off here. Hello, hello, hello. Again, this is Gresh from the I Am CEO podcast, and we had a phenomenal interview with Morgan Hurley of Mex1 Coastal Cantina. Morgan, thanks for hopping on the bonus section.
Hey, thanks for having me.
No problem. It was super awesome interview that we had. We did a really good deep dive on what led you to kind of get started, and your transition and your growth towards what you're doing now. And I think one of the things that kind of came up for me, during the interview, was just all the awesome things that you're doing and just your story as a whole. So I guess, could you tell us a little bit more about you and what you all do at your business, and how that helps?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Morgan Hurley. I'm the Marketing and Beverage Director for a restaurant concept here in Charleston, South Carolina. We've got 3 locations. We are kind of like a Southern California take on fish tacos and, killer margaritas. Really relaxed vibe, kind of come as you are sort of attitude. Surf videos playing all the time. Just really good food, really good drinks, just a really fun experience all wrapped into one.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. And I think that what came up during the interview, you talked about yourself, going out surfing and wanting to come back and have a really great experience. And when you were describing it, it also was right in line with all the things that you all do and the things that you have on TV, the tequila, of course, and all of those things that kind of create that experience. So it wasn't obviously always, consistent. Obviously, there's been a big disruption and change in the world. So what I wanted to kind of hear a little bit more from you on is, with COVID and with the changes and the adjustments that you had to make, could you take us through a little bit more of that, your thinking, and how you made exactly some of those adjustments as a business?
For sure. So for us, we solid operations is the best form of marketing, right? So we've always kind of had that going in the background, always improving that. But the other way that we did a lot of it was through experiential marketing. So having really big events, a huge Cinco de Mayo bash, great Day of the Dead parties, this big snowboard rail jam where we bring in 20,000 pounds of snow and in our tiny little parking lot and have guys hitting the ramp and all that sort of stuff. And when COVID happened, we obviously shut a lot of that down. So we really had to pivot. So it forced us into relooking at how we're going to do our model. We're a dine-in, casual dining sort of restaurant. We had to go to go only. So, what we did was we really leaned into what the CDC was recommending, obviously, what the government was recommending, but then also what are other restaurant groups across the country doing that's working for them. So we really, put our ears to the ground and saw what people were doing. And then also thinking creatively, like how are we dealing with it at home? And we did, we started hopping on social media and doing a ton of just really fun content on social media that was more entertaining. How to make the perfect margarita, those sort of videos that just really people just enjoyed. And then, we also started selling our margarita mix to go because we knew that people were going to be wanting to drink at home. We started doing the family meals and doing these, packaged dinners and that sort of stuff. And, really just trying to break the monotony up for people. And, as soon as, we had to slim down our crew quite a bit, and that hurt. That was very hard to do. But, we slowly started to bring crew back. So, third party delivery was a huge thing, Uber Eats and DoorDash and all of that. And, instead of taking the easy way and going with them, we brought back our own staff to be drivers. As soon as we could get to 25%, 50% capacity, we brought crew back to get them back in and going again. So, we really just, every single time there was a change, we pivoted as quickly as we could, saw what other people were doing in the industry, and then made that work for us.
Yeah, and I absolutely love that. And we talked a little bit offline. It kind of seemed like, correct me if I'm wrong, that you didn't lose the core of the business and what I guess the foundational principles were. It just changed as far as the way that it was done, because it sounds like you were still able to kind of create those connections, those relationships, have that experience to some degree. Just it just happened in a different way.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, we still had surf videos playing on the TV when you walked up. Still had the fun
Mhm.
music going. Still the great personal experience with the guests every chance that we could. And it was a stressful time for people. Still is a stressful time for people. So we were happy to be able to provide kind of a break in the monotony for people. And I've got two kids at home, and I cook for them almost every night with my wife. And it's nice to get takeout every once in a while.
Yeah.
I know that we were, and we had a lot of our guests supported us through that time too. Can't thank them enough. Our customers for coming and supporting us and saying, we know this is a tough time for you guys, so we're going to come twice a week and support y'all. So that was huge. So it's having those community connections in the beginning is extremely important, and then being able to give back throughout. So we were able to support, a lot of the hospitals and provide food on a regular basis for them, for the people that are right on the front line. So, it was really just about, putting your ears to the ground and hearing what's going on in the community and trying to figure out ways to help them.
Yeah, that's so huge, and I think undervalued. I think sometimes with businesses and people, that the human interaction, that connection, being part of the community and kind of giving to the community. Because I feel like there's some synergy between what we talked about with with your hack, where when we were talking about marketing, there was all this content and information that you use Feedly for to be able to kind of pull out all that information. I feel like it's been the same as far as being a beacon in the community, where a lot of of times the things that you do before there's a crisis or something happens sometimes comes to light and shows if you're able to kind of be successful or not. So just like you were able to kind of figure out how to pivot because you've been taking in so much content and information as marketing, I feel like the same thing has happened because you've been able to be a beacon and give to the community so that you can still have those supporters in those less than ideal times.
Yeah, and we had to pivot a lot. I mean, we weren't doing online ordering beforehand,
Mhm.
and I spent 36 hours of hard work getting our online ordering up and going with photos and descriptions and all of that sort of stuff. And that without doing that, that would have made life a lot harder. So it's being able to recognize, all right, how can I pivot, and then how can I just knock it out of the park every single time. Um, so it's important to really have your head down and just do the work when the work needs to get done.
Yeah, absolutely. And one phrase that came up, during the interview, I wanted to ask you a little bit more about if you can expand a little bit, was the conversational marketing. And I know you touched on a little bit, in being able to kind of use social media. Could you tell us a little bit more about that and how you were able to kind of excel at being able to do that as well?
Yeah, so I think of it as two ways. One is, conversational marketing is not just having a general post. It's, asking a question at the end, or posing your copy, which is the most important thing, posing your copy to be engaging, to have a story, to ask a question at the end, or talk about tagging your friend, or just be, it's restaurant marketing beyond the word delicious. You know what I mean? It's not
Mhm.
everything is just delicious cuisine. You got to have a story, got to be engaging. So that's important. But then as well, it's, being real with people that are there and dealing with the same thing you are. So it's like I was dealing with the same thing that just about everybody else was. So it's having those real moments with people, on and offline, and being able to provide that is extremely important. So I know that people wanted to reach out to us on Instagram and Facebook. So I was getting notifications whenever somebody, needed to talk to us. I was right there to respond because, I wanted to be able to provide them answers if, they didn't want to hop in the car and drive if we weren't open. Well, I can let them know right then and there. So it's having that aspect of the business being intact is super important.
Yeah, it's so huge. And I always say, people forget about that human aspect of business. And I love that. And the extension of that, as we, you mentioned as a DM or just having, the conversation, is so huge because I think it humanizes the business. And you talk too about like a drink not just being a drink, a meal not just being a meal. It's a story. There's something around, there's a reason for the story. And just all of those different aspects start to kind of manifest itself when you're having those conversations and connections. So truly appreciate you for digging in deep on that.
Yeah, I think people ultimately want to get back to normalcy. They want that,
Yeah.
and it's going to be a new normal, but people want that. So we wanted to keep providing that. Like, hey, remember, like this place is pretty cool. Like we got surf videos going, we got fun vibes. Like it's coming back. And sure enough, once we were able to open back up, we had a great response from the community, and it was important to have those steps all along the way.
Yeah, and I think people crave, and I think as humans, we crave that human aspect. We crave the community aspect, and I think obviously sometimes we've had to do it in a different way. And I appreciate you for letting us know exactly how you were able to accomplish that.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, Morgan, truly appreciate you again for hopping on the bonus section. For people that might just be listening to this, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you and find out about all the awesome things that you're working on?
Yeah, so they can reach out to the website, coastalcantina.com, or Instagram, which is the same. The other one is if they want to reach out to me personally, my Instagram is mixpoursurf, so MIXPOUR surf, SURF. Or they can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm Morgan Hurley on LinkedIn as well.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, thank you so much again, Morgan. We will have the links and information again in the show notes so that everybody can follow up with you. But I appreciate you, my friend, and I hope you have a phenomenal rest of the day.
Yeah, you too. Thanks, Resh.